To have you with us wherever you're watching around Australia and the world for that matter. We've had some fantastic numbers as a part of our live stream coverage of the Shannons Nationals in 2019. The fifth stop on the tour is here at Winton Motor Raceway, and after a brief break this morning, we're about to launch into a big afternoon of coverage. Now, coming up in about 40 minutes, of course, qualifying for Car Sales TCR Australia. We've had 50 minutes of practice this morning, an all-important 30-minute qualifying session coming up, and $1,000 on the line for pole position courtesy of Astron Tech. Before that, though, yet another of the great additions to the line, the variety of Porsche series of racing in this country, and we're of course talking about 944 Challenge, which we've seen here at Winton Motor Raceway before. It's great to have them a part of this round, to call all of the action for you in this session, because Cameron Bella did a wonderful job yesterday in practice sessions 2 and 3 on Friday, getting down to the 1-minute 34s. Now they are about to qualify. To call all the action is Matt Dunlop, and alongside him, our Darren Smith.
Thanks very much there, Greg. Fantastic day, beautiful day trackside here at Winton Motor Raceway for round 5 of the Shannons Nationals. Can't believe it. Still only 2 rounds left to go. It's been a very frantic year with the Shannons Nationals, Sandown, and of course Tailem Bend still to go for this year's calendar. The Porsche 944s come back onto the stage here with the Shannons Nationals, and as Rusty just mentioned, yesterday Cameron Bella topped the time sheets and did a fantastic job. He did the same thing last year at this round. As we go to the pit lane with Emanuele Francesca. Not going to need it here at Winton because we have got some hot action piling onto the track today. Porsche banners emblazoned across the front windows of these 944s. And for the very first time at the Shannons Nationals, I'd like to welcome Matt Dunlop, who is the commentator for the Victorian State Circuit Racing Championships and, of course, the 944 Club Challenge with these cars. Welcome, Matt, to the Shannons Nationals.
G'day, Darren. Thank you very much for having me, and it's good to have your company, everyone, whether you're watching in Australia, all over the country, or perhaps all around the world here on Shannons Nationals live streaming. We are here at a beautiful Winton Raceway on what is, by all accounts, a sensational August day. The wind's been nice and cool. There's not really been any wind actually this morning. The air's been nice and cool, the track's been nice and warm, and we had the cars getting out yesterday in similar conditions for some practice sessions where a few of the guys were breaking their personal bests in these Porsche 944s around this circuit, and they'll be looking to improve upon those times in our first qualifying session here on Saturday morning.
Good stuff there, Matt. So Cameron Bella, we heard Rusty referring to him in the opening remarks, that did a good job yesterday. He also did a great job at this round last year in very, very similar conditions at Winton Motor Raceway. So obviously likes these cool, crisp, almost snowfields days with beautiful blue skies. It really is magnificent here. Great for joining us on the live stream, but I tell you what, get it live in 3D. Come and join us trackside for TCR and, of course, the Porsches. This is the qualifying session for the Porsche 944s. They've had a long history in Victorian State Circuit Racing when Dennis O'Keefe introduced these cars a long, long time ago. And there's actually a very nice synergy, believe it or not, Matt Dunlop. Matt Nolte, who now travels the world as a motorsport commentator, came to the Victorian State Series back in about 2003, 2004, and was the series commentator for these cars. So from Matt Nolte to Matt Dunlop, let's see how your career goes, mate, launch padding from 944.
Well, I may as well start booking my flights now and seeing where it takes me as we see the cars.
Nothing like a bit of confidence there, eh? Good on you, Matt.
Oh, confidence is key if you ask me. We're seeing a few of the cars rolling around now, starting their first flying laps. Particularly Rob Holding here. He's back in the car trying to get some competitive results in for the first time this season. Of course, the Porsche 944s being a mainstay of the Victorian State Circuit Racing Championships, as Darren mentioned earlier. On the invitational list for the Sandown Nationals round at Winton for the second time in a row, looking to strut their stuff on this fantastic Winton circuit. Rob Holding wasn't able to post any results. He didn't actually start the round last time out here. Last time he was in this car, he had quite a few issues with bits and pieces falling off the engine, oil cooling, oil pressure issues, so he wasn't able to put some good results in, but he's hoping he's got all those technical gremlins ironed out of that car and he's able to get some good times down.
Rob Holding last year as part of the Shannons Nationals support round came home second for the round. He really wasn't able to get near Cameron Bella on track. It was the fact that he got himself some good top 5 points throughout the weekend. He actually came home second on the weekend. 71 points for Cam Bella, 64 to Rob in second place. So did a good job on this platform or on this stage last year. So let's see how the number 97 BCRE Porsche 944 goes throughout this weekend. Clearly on a quick lap as the cameras are focusing on the Scotch Line Science car. Comes up over the hill here past the famous cafeteria and viewing area where we've seen many race victories, and champagne sprays on that bit of track right there as just streaming past the cameras now. We've got car 8 making his way through there as well. Doing a nice job is Richard Howe in number 8. Dickie Howe, as he's known affectionately, an absolute veteran and legend of Victorian motorsport. Did big things back in the day at the Calder Park Thunderdome, running his Ferntree Gully Bolts VL Commodore around the banked corners of the Calder Park Thunderdome, and has been in 944 since the very early days. So we look to see how Dickie Howe goes, currently sitting at P5 with a opening lap time of 140.95. So cold weather, or cold ambient conditions. The sun is beautiful, but certainly those opening couple of laps going to be interesting to see how they can get some temp into the control Yokohamas.
That's absolutely right. Not a massive amount of rubber on the circuit at the moment, but that track is bound to be nice and toasty due to the beautiful sunlight we've been having all day. So they'll be looking to get quite a fair amount of grip out of those control tyres, as you mentioned earlier. And Dickie Howe, it's always great to see him having such vast experience in the Porsche 944s. But we're just seeing Brad Winton now. He's back in his car for the first time since 2017. He's taken a bit of break from racing, and he's back in an ex-Dylan O'Keefe car that was also piloted by Rose Brothers back in the day. So that's a car with proven pedigree.
Absolutely. Both Brenton and Kane, big stars in 944. And, of course, Kane Rose went on to win the Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge. I'm going to say 2013. He took out the Jim Richards Endurance Trophy and the title. It was a massive year for the GT3 Cup Challenge, and Kane on an absolute shoestring. In fact, was quite amazed. Everyone was amazed that he got to the line in that championship. I think he was running a set of canvas tyres by the end of it. The Rose family run a pretty tight ship. They're in a workshop in Moorabbin in Melbourne, and they certainly were very quick for a number of years between Kane and his brother Brent as well in the 944. So whoever has got any of their ex-equipment have got a very well-sorted car underneath.
Speaking of quick and well-sorted car, Cameron Bella. If you would have seen the practice results from yesterday, Cameron Bella did very well in practice 2 and 3, as Greg Russ touched on before. And if you've seen his race results in recent times, you'll know exactly why. He has won a vast majority of the races this season so far in Porsche 944 and challenged Jamie Westaway for the championship right down to the end last year. His only non-points finishes this year have been last time he raced here at Winton, actually. He had some engine gremlins, which meant he couldn't post a single point, couldn't even finish or start the races at all last time out. But aside from that, he has won every single of the other 9 races so far this season, and as a result, he's leading the 944 Challenge Championship by 30 points over Tony Westaway.
Don't be confused, ladies and gentlemen, watching on. There's always a list of Westaways. This weekend we've got the number 28 being driven by Tony, or Anthony, in his Porsche, and also the number 45, which is Michael Westaway. At the moment, Tony sitting in 7th and Michael down there in 9th. Tony Westaway has just been bumped off by a whole plethora of cars going through. Holding, Winter, Rowland have all come streaming on through. Just having a look at Tony's time, it's 1:36.3. So now we're starting to really get down to those indicative lap times that we were starting to see yesterday. So really starting to bank up the gap. Still out from in the top 5. There's still 1.5 seconds between them, but that will start to close up. Good long qualifying session here. Good 20 minutes, which is probably 5 minutes longer than they get at a Victorian State Circuit Racing Championship round, which will be concluding actually in a couple of weeks' time at the last weekend of September at Phillip Island, with the Mini Club running their round down there, and the Porsches will be competing on that platform as we go down to the lane with Greg Rust.
Darren, 25 minutes, just under, in fact, until the 5th qualifying session of the year for Car Sales TCR Australia Series. And I wanted to catch up with Aaron Cameron because during that all-important 50 minutes of practice before, you didn't get a huge amount of time, and there was some work to be done as far as splitter mountings were concerned. Have the boys got it all done?
Yeah, no, we're all sorted now. So just a bit of an off in that practice session, which is really going to hurt us for the rest of the weekend, I think. But, yeah, so just bent brackets and all new ones now, which is good to go.
Okay, so how much of a setback, given that we've got this compressed nature of the weekend, in your mind, how much of a setback has it been?
Heaps, I think. It's not good at all, really. So we lost that time then, and the car is not handling the best. So what we had at QR to what we've got now is completely different. So we've got some work to do in this qualifying session.
I sense that you're kind of kicking yourself too, are you?
Oh yeah, definitely kicking myself, and it's just pushing a little bit too hard too early and not enough rear tyre attempts. So yeah, qualifying, we'll take it nice and easy and try and keep her on the track.
Enjoy it.
Sweet, thanks mate.
There you go.
Thanks very much, Greg. Great to see Aaron Cameron, a very strong racer, and TCR becoming one of those platforms to produce some great young racers and send them off on their career. And it's going to be interesting to see how many pick TCR, as we've seen with supercars, as their career, because it's a very, very strong category internationally. Take some of our Aussie drivers, and we do bat well above our average on the international scene with our races all around the world. On screen now is the number 4 car, and this is Ken Rowland. Now, Ken has been racing again for a little while in this class and has had, I guess, some mixed results over time, Matt.
He has. He took a bit of a break in 2018. He only raced at round 5 as he ducks off the track there at the second last bend. We're just seeing a replay now. It's not his only excursion this session. He looks like he's had a couple of off-track moments there, maybe just getting to grips with his tyres as he gets some temperature into those rubbers.
I like a car with mismatched wheels, black front wheels, silver rear ones, whichever way they are. It means you're trying. You've had some tyre problems and trying something different out, as we see some of the teams starting to stack their tyres in the sunshine to get just any advantage they can down there in the pit lane. As we go down to Greg Rust again in the lane.
Just thought I'd catch up and see how your measuring skills are going. Everything all right here?
Yes, thank you.
Hey, it was a bit of a tough session. I know you're doing some driver coaching, Garth, for Leanne in this one, but I think she was still able to salvage a pretty good time out of it on balance.
Yeah, at the time before she sped off, we were P4, so we were asking her to go faster. So we asked her to push on and just made a mistake, and then we bent the car, so we didn't get a real run on a fresh set of tyres at the end, wherever else sort of popped up. So we ended up P8 or something like that. So we'll make the car right, and she'll try again. You know, she's got the speed, so we just need to make sure we put it together.
Quick damage report. I know you're busy here, so a change of guard and things like that. What else?
Yeah, just some bodywork stuff, but we, bent suspension underneath, so we're just making sure all the wheels are pointing in the right direction, and I've got to remember which way to point the wheels, and we'll be right.
TV guy, car racer, and on the tools. Good on you. Thanks, GT.
One of Australia's all-time best touring car drivers as well, Rusty. Garth Tander, an absolute fierce competitor, no matter what he's in, and even if he's twisting the spanners for his wife on the weekend, and of course keep across his 2 kids as well as their karting career starts to take form as well. 2 Tanders, both Garth and Leanne, are absolute take-no-prisoner racers, some of the best people to watch going at their trade. And of course we had a lot to do with talking about the state series for the 944s. We had a lot to do with Leanne many years ago in 2005 to 2007 when she raced in improved production. Great to see her taking the National Formula 4 title, and even better to see her getting her backside into a TCR car. 944's on track, Matt. Let's have a look at the times.
So Cameron Bella's currently leading the way with a best lap of a 1 minute 34.437. And those of you familiar with the Porsche 944 Challenger know that is no unfamiliar sight, seeing Cameron Bella at the top of a leaderboard. But Adam Brewer is currently sitting in second position, which is a phenomenal result for the number 31 driver. He's only been competing, this is his first full-time season in any racing series. His first outing in a Porsche 944 was round 5 of the State Series Championship last year. He ended up finishing 18th in the championship with some good results. I think he was floating around 4th and 5th in the race results. But he's now up to 2nd in his qualifying session, and the only way for him is up. I've been chatting to a lot of the drivers in the field as well in the Porsche 944 paddock, and they're singing nothing but praises for Adam Brewer. Brad Winter is currently sitting 3rd in what is looking to be a scintillating comeback already, having been out of the car for a year and a half himself. With Ken Rowland sitting in 4th, we touched on him earlier. He was having a little bit of time off track, but he's now put some good lap times in, and he's matching those podium results that he's attained so far through the start of this season. Michael Westaway currently sits in 5th position in the 45 car that you see on screen now, the brother of Tony Westaway, of course. And Mark Torbert's in the car number 3, that black Porsche 944, who's also the club president, likes to get out and have a spin of his own. Had some gearbox scramblings last time out at Sandown, but he's now back on track, and he's down to 7th after Rob Holding has pushed the number 97 Porsche up into 5th position. So Tony Westaway backs up this group in 8th position with a 1 minute 35.79 with a gap of 1.2 seconds to the lead. So the closest gap that we have between Cameron Bella and anybody else is 0.6 of a second between himself and Adam Brewer. So he's really streaking away, and he knows how to find the best out of his car at any circuit that dump him onto, Darren.
Adam Brewer actually just looking a bit of form, looking at the state round that was held here for round 3 earlier on in the year. Had a couple of DNFs in race 1 and race 3, and got a 7th in race 2. And his best lap time was a 1:36.3. So he's already best part of a second and a half faster than what he was there. That is a massive gain. That's like 15 horsepower in the engine. We know that hasn't happened because it's such a controlled category. Just getting time behind the wheel and driving and I guess following Cameron Brewer at some point for as long as you possibly can, and seeing how it's done. Oh, we've got someone parking it off there. That's the number 46.
We've also got Adam Brewer, who we were just talking about having an excursion off onto the inside of one of the corners. So I'm not sure if there's an incident between the two. There looks to be at 2 separate parts of the circuit there, but that was Jimmy Mitchell that you saw in the number 46 Martini liveried Porsche 944, who's currently sitting in 13 in the qualifying standings.
Brad Winter exiting pit lane now, coming back out. Good long session. That's actually on the return road, or the in road to the pits there. So he was already making his way into the pit lane and has just come a cropper there. Here we go. Coming up to the final corner on the Winton layout.
Oh, is that a suspension
it's like a
failure?
wheel bearing or something on the left front.
That thing just did not want to turn, yeah.
That's more than a wheel bearing. That's a control arm or a caster arm or something like that. Yeah, that's horrible. That's actually punched the guard off the car too there, the way that went. Back to live pictures. 4.5 minutes left in qualifying. It's Bella to Brewer, Winter, Rowland, Holding, Westaway, Mark Torbitts, the 28 Westaway there, which will be Michael, then Richard Howe down there in 9th. James Dowdy, Andrewski and Mitchell round out our 13, and Vanoris takes out the final car on track there. Good strong session. We're seeing that top 5 now covered under a second. Top 6 still at 1 second. So that's really tight. That's kind of like Formula 4 type tight qualifying session. That top number of cars under a second. We'll see that in TCR qualifying next. How many cars we can jam into that 1 second gap. There's quite a log jam at the top when qualifying happens like that. But it's Cam Bella, the only one to dip into the 134s yet. That just really shows why that car we're looking at now, car number 1, has in fact got that number on it.
He's a very rapid driver behind the wheel of these Porsche 944s. He's won a couple of the state championships in this very car, and he's looking to continue that form as we cross down to Emma in the pit lane.
As we count down to TCR qualifying, Alexandra Whitley, a few challenges for you. Broken axle in that session, so not a lot of track time, and your first time around this track too.
Yeah, it's my first time here, and it's a great track, and Winton's put on a beautiful day for us. Unfortunately, we broke an axle in the session, which stopped it short, but that's all right. The boys have already changed it. We'll get back out there for qualifying. Jason's showing some really great pace, so if we can replicate that in qualifying, we're certainly going to move forward.
This track is a lot of fun. I went around with Leanne Tander yesterday. I mean, how did you find the few laps that you did?
Yeah, I mean, it was very short, but absolutely loved it. It's kind of, a bit like a go-kart track, and turn after turn, and looks like there's going to be some great racing. There are spots that are very narrow, but we'll see how it turns out tomorrow.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Interesting that Alexander should touch on that. Yes, Winton does have some narrowing aspects, and turn 1 is one of them. You start off at the grid and it's nice and wide there, and it funnels down into turn 1. They'll learn all about that later on today with TCR, and of course the Porsche 944s will find out all about that with their race 1, which is not too far away. In fact, at 12:40 today we'll see the Porsches on track. So qualifying session now, which is just about to end in 2 minutes time, and then race 1. They'll continue for 3 races throughout the rest of this weekend. Of course, other support categories this weekend being the Australian Prototype Series. Richard Howe in the lane. Actually, in fact, we've got 4 in the lane. Holding, Michael Westaway and Mark Torbitts, and Richard Howe just very, very gingerly making his way down pit lane. In fact, looks like he's calling his qualifying session now with 1 minute and 45 left in this session. So done his best. Puts him in P9 at the moment for the start of race 1 this weekend.
Meanwhile, Cameron Bella's posted a 1 minute 34.199 while we were away with Emma there, which is a fantastic lap, and that puts him 0.855 ahead of the next pace car in qualifying, which is Adam Brewer. So Adam Brewer's still doing very well to hold on to that second position, and it's good to see that margin, but it now does mean that there's only 2 cars at the front within a second of each other. So Cameron Bella's really letting the sandbags go and stretching his legs around the track in this qualifying session.
Good thing for the guys down at Traction Tyres who supply these Yokohama tyres is that they're now seeing it and going, wow, after 9 laps we're still able to set the fastest lap. That's a really good setting. Of course, the Yokohama's being an R-spec tyre, so essentially a road drivable tyre, full treaded tyre radial outfit. And when you look at that at a 134.1 with Cameron Bella, apart from the guy having the game on a string at the moment, that's a pretty rapid lap in a 4-cylinder front engine, albeit 50-50 split weight-wise, which is the delight of the 944 ever since Porsche bought them out. And something also we'll touch on throughout the weekend, Matt, is the now connection with the factory, with Porsche Cars Australia, and the award as part of this series, which is why they're all now running the Porsche window banners. So we'll talk more about that throughout the weekend as we see this car of Ken Rowland currently sitting P4. He's got this lap to get around to get himself onto that podium position for qualifying.
It's funny you mentioned the weight balance left to right, actually, because some of these cars are left-hand drive, whereas others, such as Ken Rowland, you can see here, are driving right-hand drive Australian-delivered Porsche 944s. And there is a difference in the weight balance. Those left-hand drive European specification ones do have perfect 50-50 left to right, but there's a little bit of a discrepancy that some of the drivers have noted in the right-hand drive models, although it might prove to be their benefit around a clockwise track here, such as Winton, especially with some of these long, tight corners.
Yeah, it is an interesting conundrum, that left and right-hand drive. I know Phillip Island, with the exception of turn 1, pretty much everywhere else, a left-hand drive here on the inside of the corners coming onto the straight, which is very important. Lukey Heights and Southern Loop, also around at Siberia at the island, the left-hand drives are a distinct advantage because you can see right through the corner. You're sitting right on the corner on the left-hand side. But you're right, Winton will be a different. There's only really one fast-flowing corner. That's the sweeper. The rest of them are point and shoot type of corners. It's all about just trying to get that power down, whatever you've got on board with these 4-cylinder Porsches. That just getting every ounce of that particular horsepower, whatever they've got, and it is controlled, but there will be some kilowatt differences between each of them as they be tuned by different tuners. Let's, Matt, have a run down through that qualifying order.
Well, the checkered flag is now waving at the end of the qualifying session, and Cameron Bella is on pole position for race 1 at 12:40 p.m. today, with a lap time of 1 minute 34.199, followed by Adam Brewer, who is currently sitting in the pits and doesn't have a lap time to finish, with a 1 minute 35.054. Brad Winter will start this race from 3rd position with a margin of just over a second to Cameron Bella in the lead. Ken Rowland will line up next to him in 4th position. Rob Holding is in 5th in the number 97 Porsche 944, next to Michael Westerway, the first of the Westerways on the grid. Mark Torbitz in the Zantec number 3 car is 7th, next to Anthony Westerway in 8th position. Richard Howe will be starting the race from uncharacteristically low 9th pin ahead of Peter James in 10th. Tony Andrzejewski will be starting from 11th. Peter Doherty, back in that car for the first time in a long time, is in 12th position. Jimmy Mitchell, who we saw having that control arm, we suspect, issue at the end of that lap at some stage, is in 13th. And John Vanoris has set a lap time of 1 minute 43.25, and he will start the race from 14th on the grid. Darren.
Thank you very much, Matt Dunlop, for joining us here with the 944s. We'll see you at 12:40 for their first race of the weekend. Great to see the Yokohama Shod 944s out there on